Hello, I'm Maria Bernier from the Connecticut State Library. We're here today making recordings about our Experiencing America discussion sets to help you use those sets a little bit more effectively. And we're here today with Rachel Tonucci and Elizabeth Lane from the Bloomfield Public Library, sharing their experiences about their social justice book group. Rachel, what would you like to tell us about your book group?
We've talked about kind of how to get started with this work. We've talked about leading a social justice book discussion. And now it's how do you build and maintain the work in social justice. So, for example, with the book club, we have wonderful discussions. We have many perspectives that people share. We've gotten great feedback about what people are learning and what they feel it's doing for their self-awareness and their self-education. But I have a fear of almost sounding a little bit performative of, okay, so we read this book, we talked about it, but now what? What can we do other than going out and having those conversations with our neighbors, with our community members? And I know that's happening because I've gotten the feedback from the participants of, oh, after I read that book, it gave me the answer I really wanted to give to that neighbor who said this, so we know those conversations are happening in the community, and that's wonderful. But when we can, we want to take action on a bigger level. So one way has been to take a topic that comes up perhaps at a book club, and then run a program based on that topic outside of the book club that anybody can attend, or doesn't feel that they have to read a book if they don't have time to do that to be able to learn. We had some recommendations from some of our members of, what is PTSD and what is trauma, that people are talking about. Can we learn more about that? So I brought in a psychologist who talked about trauma, and we ran a program on that. Sometimes what we'll do is we've had a partnership with the NEA through Eastern Connecticut State University, where they'll do a big read. And usually it's something that I've been thinking about for book club anyway, when they end up picking the book. So that's a great way to bring the book club into a bigger program that has a partner with us that we can run all sorts of programs related to the topic. One example of that was Interior Chinatown that we just read, and I brought in a panel of people, including our own Sam Lee and other professors and activists, and we talked all about Asian Americans and culture and recorded it. So I have, we can link to that later if you'd like to see it. And that's an example of like a panel program that came from the topics from the book. So really there's kind of no limit when you start thinking of it that way, having a professor come in and talk about the history of immigration of, a certain group. We've had that. We had domestic violence awareness with Interval House. And not only did they come and do a program for us, but then we ended up having a gift card drive for survivors and victims of domestic violence that we discovered was quite prevalent in our town. So all sorts of ideas for programs and for, kind of making an impact in your community can come from this, which is great. Regarding programming, Sarah Ray on our programming team at the library and others, we have kind of worked as a team to develop a way to kind of make sure that we're hitting all of these different areas. So not only basic literacy, but also sort of a social justice awareness and civic responsibility. And so hopefully at the upcoming CLA conference, we'll be able to share that with kind of coming up with a template for hitting certain cultural awareness months, as a way to maybe make sure that the social justice programming is, you know, comprehensive and including a lot of different groups in it. So, you know, what Black History Month or Women's History Month in March, you know, just kind of making sure that we've got at least 1 or 2 featured programs for whatever the Cultural Awareness Month it happens to be is. So that's another way that, you know, you just can kind of make sure that you're hitting all different groups and topics.
I just wanted to interject there and talk about program numbers again, and the concept of what I like to say, like the sexy programs versus the unsexy programs. And we, in our BPL strategic plan, link to Connecticut State Library 7 literacies. And, you know, one of the unsexy literacies, for example, is public health, which we know is so important. And so that intentional programming means we're going to have those unsexy, boring programs, but they're going to be on our social media sites, and we're going to have that program. And then a lot of times we record it. So it's there. And it's also, again, alerting our public to the importance of this type of thing. And for instance, as we go back into public health is a social justice issue. As we know, a lot of our public health issues disproportionately affect communities of color. So again, this is like going full circle with being intentional and making sure you're covering all of your bases, which we all should be doing.
Yeah, along the civic responsibility, we did a huge voter registration drive, which was great. And we were able to connect on early voting, getting the word out very much in advance, and running things like that. We had a lot of community members participate in different sort of action campaigns that we've run that have come out of these discussions with the book group. And obviously this affects collection development. When you're, you know, creating a display and you are reminded of, you know, something that you want to bring awareness to, whether it's through the programming lens or through the collection lens, you can really find holes in your collection of where you might realize you need some materials that you didn't have, or perhaps they're not updated enough. So it really affects everything we do in all of our different roles within the library. Elizabeth, I think you wanted to talk about the DEI report as well.
Yes. So we just had a DEI report drop in Bloomfield. It was done by BJM Solutions with Fred McKinney and Gerald Janes, and it was fascinating. I'm still digesting everything. It's 66 pages, and council, I think, is just starting to digest it too. It included focus groups, and some things were said about the library in the report, and I am so thankful that we have been doing this work, because otherwise it would have looked like we really dropped the ball. So some takeaways from that DEI report include the three largest departments, the library is the most undiverse. The library workforce is 77% white and 73% female. And it goes on from there. Another directly from the report, most employees appear to be unaware of any DEI initiatives by the town, but they were aware that increasing diversity was difficult work. Only a few employees could articulate a sound understanding of the meaning of diversity. While some employees expressed definitions encompassing laudable goals, such as treating everyone fairly when interacting with people of 30 different ages, races, etc., most employees expressed vague thoughts about what DEI means. Many believed it represents quotas for minority or hiring more minority candidates or a push for gender. Perhaps ironically, an exception to this were the employees of the library. The library, with the least diverse workforce among the three largest departments, appears to be the only department where employees are somewhat knowledgeable about diversity. And then they put, this may be because library employees routinely serve people of different races and ethnicities, as well as different age segments, which yes, but it's really because we are doing the work. And then in the final recommendations, recommendation is about the library. Library staff could be utilized to assist other departments with implementing better DEI policies and procedures. And I am so thankful for this, for BJM Solutions for really taking the time to try to figure out what's going on in Bloomfield, because it is true, the library is really trying and being intentional. And that is part of social justice. You know, find people in town who want to get the work, who want to do the work and get it done. Make sure they know what you're doing. Broadcast what you're doing. Put it on put it on social media. Put it on your website. Put it in your newsletter. And you know, continually reminding people that social justice is more than just race. I think a lot of people think that, and that's not accurate. Here's an example of a Black History Month. This was in our local paper, as well as all over social media. And this is a great example. So you might, from the public, not attend one library program to do with this, but you might be like, oh, heavy, what is that book? And maybe they go and they just look it up on Wikipedia and get that quick read, but you know what? They just learned something and you were the catalyst of that. So, you know, we got to think bigger in the ripple effect of our work. And, you know, I love this quote, life's not a track meet, it's a marathon. This work never ends. You know, these systems are old and designed to control. So you're going to have to keep doing, that's my dog, sorry. Okay. You're going to have to keep doing the work. And sometimes you're going to have to say things that are not popular. Sometimes you're going to say things that are going to make people upset. You're going to be the one person going against the grain in meetings, whether it's in the library world or in town, or on staff, you know, and that's okay. If you're going to do the work, that's part of it. Being uncomfortable on the regular, doing the uncomfortable things, making the unpopular decisions. And once you start doing it, it becomes easier. And, you know, I feel like now on staff, there's more and more people who are able to apply this social justice lens to the things we're doing. Because Rachel can't be everywhere. I can't be everywhere. If you're not having everyone on staff be a part of this, it's not going to work. So yeah, I wanted to say that. But it started from the DEI report, but again, it's all related. Tax dollars, the DEI report, social justice, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention quickly the action continuum. So this idea, you know, we talk about the book. There's, you know, one level where you're participating in, you know, discrimination and oppression. And on the whole other level, you're preventing it from a system approach. So if you look right in the middle, this is how you can move forward on this continuum through something like the book club, or some of the other programs we've been talking about. So right in the middle is educating yourself. Then you're educating others, which is what you're doing by starting one of the book clubs. And then after that, you're supporting others who speak out. And that's what I've heard from actual participants, you know, that they've been able to have that conversation with a neighbor or a community member and speak out against what they're saying, because it's either hate speech or it makes them uncomfortable or something like that. And then at the highest level, hopefully we're writing these into our policies, which is what we're doing with our social justice mission statement, our strategic plan, in our collection development policy, and all of these policies. And that's why we have to keep rewriting them so that we can make sure that we're really trying to change it at that level. And that's when you're sort of at the highest level of that continuum, when you can really impact a change that will affect everyone.
Cool. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rachel and Elizabeth, for sharing your time and your expertise on this subject.
Thank you, Maria.
Everybody. Oh, wait, Rachel, the action items. We wanted to end by saying that you can do something immediately after watching this. It doesn't have to be a big thing. you can, for instance, we wanted to give you some realistic goals. So maybe for the next year, plan 4 programs. Sit down right now and think of 4 programs that you can do, including using one of the Connecticut State Library's book club sets. So easy, right? 2, create a social justice committee on staff. It doesn't need to be the director. Have some people, ask them if you know somebody would be good, tell them they're on this committee and get moving. 3, plan an all-staff PD. Every library in this country should be doing at least one all-staff professional development about social justice a year. That, and when I say that's the bare minimum, it is the bare minimum, but make sure you are doing that. And, you know, there's, you know, Niche Academy, the CSL DLD Project Ready, and there's so many free ones as well, including TED Talks. So look things up, start doing it. Forward emails of interest to your staff. We have a Slack channel that's just for social justice, and people drop in newspaper articles, things that images, etc. And it just always, we're always thinking about it. And then we also wanted to bring up the 9th principle of ethics. Yes, from ALA, which I wish we all subscribed to the ALA Code of Ethics on a more regular basis, but we are literally supposed to be doing this work. This is part of our jobs. So I think we wanted to end with that 9th principle. And Rachel's quote that she loves from Maya Angelou: when you know better, do better. So steal ideas, steal our ideas. We welcome it. Take them. You know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of this is being done. Borrow. Don't make things harder for yourself if you don't have the time. You know, steal ideas. That's what libraries are for.
And please reach out if anybody has any questions after watching. Be happy to help.
Fabulous. I'm ready to get to work. Thank you both. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Ashley.